Alright, stream is live and recording is on. Good to go.
Know you'll have insights from investment strategists and a financial plan that won't keep you up at night. So planning for retirement can be the least of your worries. With the guidance of a PNC Investments financial advisor, know you can get help reaching your goals.
Just gotta do some letting people know that we're live. Alright, great. Hey, what's up, Ben? Missed you guys last week. It was 4th of July and whatnot. So let me know if I'm going through okay on audio. Man, a lot of stuff. Well, it's the day after the big Tech 3 Cruiser patch, so probably a good idea to actually take a look at. That's basically the focus right now. Kind of want to look at is like day one volatility. All right, it's not very often that we get to that. It's not very often that we'll get a chance to actually look at anything big as far as day one volatility. So it's a good opportunity. First of all, let's get started with. Oh, actually, before we get really started, post a word in Discords, the multiple Discords. All right, great. So, oops. All right, we let's it's been a 2 week difference, but let's go ahead and take a look at our last picks anyway, just to see if there's been a change or it's basically reverted back to the previous calls because it has been 2 weeks. A lot of the times these items tend to have like a buy or sell cycle of like 6 days or so. So let's take a look. All right, we started off. So this is 2 weeks ago, mind you. Okay, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we called Red Garista's adaptive involved field as buys. You know, this is probably still going to be a buy, or we'll see. A lot of the things that would have been useful for T3Cs have been kind of really increased in price the last week or so. So Red Garista's involved fields since 2 weeks ago, so it would have been right around here 2 weeks ago, and we are now actually yeah. So it would have been a good call actually. So yeah, would have been a good call. Would have been a good call. Um, there's been slightly increased volume throughout the 2 week period. Not a whole lot. Top end, this sells for 75 units per day, so it's not a great moving item. Uh, Considering the price, it's only 250 million or so, 230 to 250. I mean, yeah, that's pretty understandable, right? So that would have been a good call 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of cool to see, even after 2 weeks. Maybe that's a better time horizon to actually look at, 2 weeks versus 1 week. I didn't even think about that. I was kind of just focusing on the periodicity of the show, and kind of what makes sense for 1 week turnarounds. But 2 weeks seems to be a lot more forgiving for these items, especially during the slow season. Summertime slow. A lot of people are doing like real life stuff. Oh, Wraith XO just stay out of melted nano ribbon market. It depends how you look at it. It really depends. I think it really depends on your time horizon, whether it's okay to get in or out of it. Now we did call that as well from 2 weeks ago. Is it still the same? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. It's worth observing, I think. Worth observing, not necessarily buying into unless you really, really have a good plan for it. But that's very, in the general sense, that's sound advice. Stay out of melted nano ribbons. So that's why I'm kind of just, let's observe, let's watch it, see what it does. Because especially when you're taking into account day one volatility. Asteros, really? So Wraith X72 says made a killing in Asteros. Like last week or very, very recently? I haven't touched Asteros in a while, to be honest. I haven't been able to do a lot of flipping, to be honest, guys, because a lot of my buy orders have been devoted to long builds and putting up contract items. All last week, really? Nice. Alright, another item we looked at 2 weeks ago, we called the buy, was Imperial Navy Heatsink. I'm curious to see how that fares now that the new Legion is out. We'll definitely touch the Tech 3 cruisers today, so we're kind of like window shopping right now, as far as Tech 3 cruisers are concerned. Really? It actually we called this as a buy. It's technically still a buy. It would have been a better call for a buy closer to today than it was 2 weeks ago, because it would have kept on going down. So bad in general, bad call, I think. What's driving the price down? I don't know, because the volume's not all that wacky. Well, there would have been some spots where he could have probably sold it, but it's probably not a whole lot matched up on sell orders from these parts right here, as far as the Danshin channel is concerned. Wraith says buy prices are creeping up and sell down, and 200 millimeter prototype Gauss guns are doing well still. Really? I've been receiving a lot of loot drop items, modules, even some. They're probably loot from kills and whatnot that I've been getting from contracts, and I've been making a killing, man. I've been making a kill on contracts, considering that I don't have to put up buy orders for them and I'm not paying up buy order fees. Yeah. It's just convenient to just bulk. A lot of the big market guy, a lot of the larger active market folks out there. I think they dedicate their operation to contracts. So it's really cool to see the actual possibilities of that type of operation. Even though my scope is actually still quite small. All right, we also called Fortizars as buys 2 weeks ago. Ooh. Yeah, we'll see how that fares, because you know what? There's been some pretty crazy action on P4s lately. We'll see how that fares, because you know what? There's been some pretty crazy action on P4s lately. It hasn't really changed much. It's still at a historic 90-day low. So not a whole lot of action. I think you're still poised to make money out of it because it doesn't seem to want to go any lower than what we kind of called it at. So that's not bad. It doesn't seem to want to go any lower than what we kind of called it at. So that's not bad. All right, so those were our buys for ourselves. Caldari Navy medium shield extender. All right, so those were our buys for ourselves. Caldari Navy medium shield extender. So we call it a sell right around here, and you went to buy mode and set to sell again. We call it a sell right around here, and you went to buy mode and set to sell again. And it's doing this price movement without a lot of volume change. So I think it's just genuine demand, to be honest. So that was a good call. Sven says slow market. Yeah, man, it's super slow market. But there's opportunities inherently with slow markets. You can take your time, right? You can be more observant. Not a whole lot of action, so you may be able to catch things that may pick up once the fall, winter comes up, right? I think this is a good time to really take a hard look at Tech 3 cruisers. Not just the ships themselves, but the accompanying modules, which we'll discuss all this, at least the theory behind it, at least how I'm intending to go about it, right? And Spence says, no, the Forzar, I've had buy orders up for weeks. Really? You know what? When I flipped my Forzars, the Forzars that I did flip, I got matched on the buy order side pretty quickly. It took me close to almost 60 days to sell it, but I sold it at a profit. It's just, considering how much they were at the time, I don't think it was worth it. I think I tied up too much money, considering the time. Alright, Genulution CA3s and CA4s, we call those as sells as well, from 2 weeks ago. They're still cells. They're still cells. The 3 at least, looking at the charts. They're still cells. They're still cells. The 3 at least, looking at the charts. Force definitely sells still. And it's not really letting up. I mean, it's not a big drastic change on volume, so it looks like genuine demand, not too, yeah, there's no sway of prices due to crazy volume. I don't think. I think it's just people just genuinely wanting these things. Sure. And lastly, we looked at 2 weeks ago was melted nano ribbons. This should be a good call. Seeing as the price of Tech 3 cruisers, or even if you weren't really aware of where the Tech 3 cruisers prices will land. Just the fact that there was going to be inherent volatility because of changes, that should have been a pretty good cue to at least kind of dip your toes into it, you know. That should have been a pretty good cue to at least kind of dip your toes into it, you know. Yeah, it was the sales. It started to dip down now. Because there was this crazy volatility right here, matched a little bit with slightly increased volume. Not a whole lot though. I think it's just big buyers that ended up um, capturing prices at the high end, or people anticipating more demand but maybe failing because it only lasted a good week. It's, leading up to the builds. I wouldn't have paid 3 mil for this. I mean, yeah. Back in the day, these things were costing about 5 mil a piece, but that was years ago. Back in the day, these things were costing about 5 mil a piece, but that was years ago. Shrinks. That's making me a trillionaire. Um, if you really wanna, if you're serious about that path, you gotta have a good mix of active and passive ISK making operations, and definitely you really gotta think outside the box. You really do. Um, a lot of people, think that ISK making, like the act of making currency, making money in game. It is a lot like other games out there. It's just that there's a lot more opportunities for outside the box thinking in Eve versus other games, I think. Solo PvP counts active ISK making activity. Yeah, that's how I made money in low sec. Picking up, killing people, picking up their modules. If I can kill 2 ships before I lost my 1 ship, I was ahead. Ray says I just started some PI for passive. Yeah, PI for passive income is good. If you are able to, I highly suggest focusing on working on factory planets versus being a harvester. Uh, Factory planets are way more passive than harvesting, generally. All right, so those were calls. Even from 2 weeks ago, I think. Um, Actually, looking at things 2 weeks later, it was almost a little better than doing it week for week for week. We'll have to see how that plays out. It seems like the calls are more fleshed out after 2 weeks versus a week. Oh, hey, Dronica. All right, so those were our predictions 2 weeks ago. Now we kind of get into our discussions, right? Recent transactions, what are the big items that we've come across? I'm continuing to, until recently, my buyback contract guy was just, he was dumping 4 bill contracts, 6 bill contracts, 7 bill contracts, like 3 to 4 times a week the last 2 weeks. I'll be honest though, I was surprised I was actually able to keep up. I was hovering on near zero liquid a lot of times, man. I was on straight up flip mode. Uh, little ode to Buster Rhymes right there with them flip mode stuff. But yeah, I was surprised how quickly I was able to recover. Just again, receiving the contracts and just putting them in the market. So basically, what I would do. I'm not sure how much he bought him for, but he lives in Horde Space. Over there, I think there's it's a group of them that do the buybacks. Smart bastards, man. Dronica says I need to find myself a null buyback supplier. Dronica, there's a lot of them. You should. You're in my channel for the investors. There's a lot of them in there. A lot. People exploiting horde. So it's like, I'm not really. It's not necessarily exploiting. It's cooperation. You know, it's a give and take, man. It's a give and take, right? But yeah, I mean, they're willing to sell it. You know, I'm not sure at what cost they're getting it. If anyone's doing exploiting, I'm pretty sure it's not me. I'm pretty sure it's them. Get what is the erase us what the channel what channel I speak of. I have a Discord for all of our investors and operators. I like it. Oh, Veronica, yeah. Let me link this. Your new appraiser from your Eve Mogul modules. Woo. Tools from Eve Mogul, man, so good, so good. So that's the new appraiser from Veronica from Eve Mogul. Definitely gotta check this out. Okay, nice. Oh, with accompanying portfolio tools. That's sexy. That's sexy. Digging it, bro. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. This is available for free, Jonica, on your as even for free members. Ooh, available for free. Nice, nice. And that's the Discord guys for the investors and operators. Dronga says anyone can use it. However, to create a portfolio from a paste will require a login. Okay, cool. Still beta, but working kinks out. But got it up over the weekend. Nice. Great to see progress on the eMogul suite, man, of tools. It's awesome. I mean, the last few months we've been seeing a lot of tool makers entering the fray for the market. So yeah, it's great to see interest as far as creators, tool makers, and of course the users as well, right? Racist, just checking out Emogul. Yeah, man, I was using Emogul. Hell, it's been over a year now. I think that was the main tool that I used to really highlight my investing activities when I was still writing articles for Neocom, and it's just tough to display that kind of information without tools like Emogul. I guess gotta step my game up. Yeah, man. It's like we all do, man. Yeah. Wade said, but I'm a little minnow swimming in a large pond. But that's how you get started, though. Right? Figuring out what metrics are important to you and having a way to monitor them, so that you'll know if you're making progress and you'll be able to respond if you're not making progress. That's super, super important. A lot of times people will just assume that they're being successful, but they're really not. They're really not. So it's being objective about your operation, especially if you're in it competitively. Like, hey, I'm competitive because I want to make sure that I'm making more money so that I can hopefully buy a super in X months, right? X number of months, or whatever the case may be, or just be able to flex your account or flex one of your alts, something like that. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay to it's okay to put that pressure on yourself. It's cool. That pressure's good. It's fun. All right. This weekend there was a Talking in Stations episode. It was a really good episode, by the way. Really, really good. Sven says I only enjoy ruining markets. You need a lot of money to ruin markets, man. So I just linked the Talking in Stations episode. It talks about Tech 3 cruisers. It was really good. It was really, really good. There wasn't a whole lot of direct market related aspects that they talked about, because I didn't think they were really capable of doing it. They were users, not necessarily builders or manipulators, for lack of a better term, or even just avid observers of that kind of market. You know, no one could really speak intelligent. Unfortunately, no one at the time could speak intelligently of it, which is fine. But that's fine. That's fine. It's good to understand the user's view to see if there's value in it for you as a supplier, right on the other side. Well, what did I find out from listening to that? Sounds like the old guard of Tengus and Proteuses being top dog as far as the Tech 3 cruisers. I think the script has been flipped, and it's basically the Loki and Legion show now, or at least in Pyfa, right? You know, today being the actual first day of the resulting balancing work. Is it still the case? It's hard to tell. It's really, really hard to tell, because you can Pyfa all these things, man. You can have all these ideas, but at the end of the day, a large alliance basically has to be able to buy that idea and turn it into a fully functional doctrine, you know, with the supply line to back it up. At the end of the day, that's what must happen, along with, you know, this it kind of has to happen in tandem, I think, to really build a good base of demand for such a relatively expensive ship, not just in ISK but in skill training. But with skill injectors, it's just think of that as you may. It has to be good enough to be doctrine, and yet good enough to be PV, right? So right now, what the word on the street is that's the Loki and that's the Legion, based on how the subsystems now work and the new stats and weapon systems. And we'll go over kind of how they are now, so we all, as marketeers, as observers, have an idea of the possibilities. But this being day one, I think there's still time to kind of, you know, hey, who's going to pick up what doctrine, right? I think there's going to be more Loki doctrines more than anything. That's just me, right? Seconded by the Legion, okay? How about the PvE side of things? I would think Legion, just by the very nature of lasers, are going to be slightly ahead of the Loki, unless the Loki's missile subsystems really are that good. They seem to be good on show info, to me at least. So we'll see. So one thing I've kind of noted here, Tech 3 cruisers are being bought as doctrinal preparation at the alliance levels. I still think I think that's gonna be Loki's bunch of Lokis. Those I think there's enough hype behind it. There's enough CC hype behind it. There's a lot of pre-Pyfa hype around it for people to buy into the idea. Is there going to be an opportunity to test it? Sure, there's going to be an opportunity to test it against Citadels. That's going to be the metric to test it on, right? So with that being said, with the new Tech 3 cruisers, how will the new Tech 3 cruisers, all of them, perform in the current environment with void bombs? Are they usable in the current environment with void bombs? Fuck, man, I don't think so. Not yet. I just don't think so. Void bombs are just super broken when it comes to using that on the same grid as Citadels. It's just, come on, man. To be capitalist like that, if that ability wasn't delivered using a bomb platform, I think it would be more fair. But that's not the case, unfortunately. Sven Vico says buy VNIs right now because T3Cs are now really good at killing them. Okay, okay. There's gonna be a culling. 900 DPS ham or rapid light missile launcher cloaking Lokis with web bonus out to 30 kilometers without bling. Really? Like no implants? That's pretty sick. Kids are watching. Lots of VNIs dead. I mean, has there been a really big spike? Well, VNI is kind of like a staple, right? It's like rice in an Asian household. I mean, fuck's sake. But yeah, I mean, it's that's also good numbers, man. Those were really, really good numbers. 900 DPS hams? Really? That's sick. Wow, I gotta start messing around with that. We'll go through the numbers too. And I know, guys, it's day one. Hard to determine patterns at day one. But it's a good start, I think. And Sven says, yeah, I don't know if solo players make an impact on huge markets. Generally, no. Because they're solo. Because they're solo, right? Unless it's that friendly to use where people aren't intimidated to pick it up. You know? I don't think we'll really get there until we let go of the SP loss. But does SP loss even matter in an age of scale injectors? I don't think so. I don't think so. Even before scale injectors, if you were to lose, even if you got all your subsystems to 5, if you died, you would lose. A 5 would turn to a 4. I mean, at most, even having the wrong attributes adjusted, that's tops 5 days. Tops 5 days retrain. You know. Having the wrong attributes adjusted, that's tops 5 days. Tops 5 days retrain. So I would say right now, just kind of address that. I think in the current Void Bomb environment, in the current Citadel environment, based on just how I'm perceiving the Tech 3 cruisers right now, even post balance, Macarios are still better. Macarios are still better for attacking Citadels. I can't imagine something that's even slightly reliant on cap to be useful to fight Citadels. I just don't see it. Effectively, anyway, right? I just don't see it. Is that okay, though? No, I don't think it's okay. I don't think having a single answer only is ever okay. But that's just me. And on that note, Macarios are still like something to sell. Like I think I've come to the conclusion with my history of flipping Macarios that it's better to build them on the cheap than it is to try to flip them, unless you're a super active like one Isker. I think you're better off finding cheapish Macario blueprints and building them. All right, so this is the patch notes, guys. It's pretty thin, besides of course the Tech 3 cruisers. It's the star of the show. All right, it's the star of the show. We'll get there. So before we get started on actually talking about the Tech 3 cruisers, actually let's do that right now. Actually, no, let's wait. I just want to address our investment group. That Discord that I linked, which I will link again. I just want to address our investment group. That Discord that I linked, which I will link again. So what we found ourselves now in our investment group is actually people are feeling more comfortable splashing some money around, basically. People are feeling more comfortable about putting out information about their operation. We haven't had any new members trying to do either yet. I think folks are just generally like in summertime mode, doing stuff with family and traveling, whatnot, being on holiday, right? Fun stuff, fun real life stuff. Also, I'm curious to see how this develops when we go into like the fall, winter season, if people are still going to be more interested. But nothing but positive stuff. We even have elements of our group that are trying to develop a reputation for third party, right? Holding on to collateral, stuff like that. So are we? It's a really cool group to be a part of, as far if you're into that kind of game. And I'm looking forward to see how it develops. See what we can do with it. It's almost like it's just a community of people who kind of splash money around and make more of it. So if you ever want to check this out, just hop on the Discord. Then from there, we'll let you into the different the different rooms. Sven says, I'm glad I bought a lot of T3Ds back when they were 30 mil or less. Oh man, what a deal! What a deal! All right, now let's go over the stats of the Tech 3 cruisers, just so that we have kind of so that you can see what they're up, what the base information is. So let's start with the hulls. Thanks, Pro God. I think the way they have the showing for the market window for the Tech cruisers, it's a lot better presented, way better than what it was before. So all the subsystem bonuses are they're the same, right? It scales the same. What's important here is the new role bonuses. 99% reduction in scan, probe, launcher, CPU requirements across the board. It's kind of a big deal. It's huge. So you can always have a scan. So forcing them into not forcing. That's the wrong word to use. But giving them the opportunity to be a proper exploration ship, regardless of type of Tech 3 cruiser. Right? Rigs may be removed from the ship without being destroyed. Huge, huge. People would prefer this as an option just because of that, I think. Warning on ship destruction, a pilot will lose one random subsystem skill level. Alright, so we still got that to contend with, which is fine. So what's, and that's the same pattern for each one of these ships. Same one, same pattern. The more popular one would have been the Lokis. Boom. Just sick. So they were already picking up in price, 2 weeks ago. Probably a little bit more than that, alright? And it's finally starting to let up. Loki got really overbought a lot faster than the other Tech 3 cruisers. And it's got the volume to back it up. It's got the spiky volume to back this up. Is it too late to buy into these now? Yeah, they're too late. At least for this price movement. Now, mind you, this is one of our sells of the week as well. Okay, Tactic Cruisers, obviously because of these reasons. All right. At least for the Loki, I think you're better off waiting. If you buy into this now, you're buying at a high. You don't know if it'll ever reach that high again. Probably not. Probably not, because we haven't established a genuine demand for these things yet. Not yet, right? And by demand, I mean like doctrinal, like large alliance level demand. That's what I mean. Not onesie twosies, like solo guy. No. And by demand, I mean like doctrinal, like large alliance level demand. Proteus, even though it's one of the ones that have been called out to be, you know, kind of catching the short end of the stick, it still did pretty well as far as pre-balance speculation buys. And all these are starting to wane already. Tangle, even though it didn't really win out all that much, and it was actually nerfed, it's people still were buying into it, you know, because they were probably already invested on that on that training line. Again, already waning. Price is already waning. We've reached the echelon already. We reached the high. Legion, same thing, going up, going up, going up. It's got the volume to back it up. Legion, same thing, going up, going up, going up. It's got the volume to back it up. All right, so that's the hulls. So we're looking at in the 200 million range now for all the hulls. Let's see how the new subsystems are. So that's really that's what you get them for, right? Of course, they're all kind of patterned the same way as well, right? Now, instead of having 5 subsystems, we're down to 4. We're down to core, defensive, offensive, and propulsion subsystems. If you're interested in how the skill broke down from 5 to 4 and how does that play into it, it's all in the patch notes, guys. It's basically reimbursement. Alright, so Amar subsystems. Core, 5% capacitor, 3% energy warfare resistance. I really like how it actually talks about just more information right at the market window. This is really good. It gives you it fleshes out the idea a lot better. And a lot of these have the same bonuses. Of course, what changes, of course, is the racial weaponry and tanking. Yep, so that's the core, defensive, offensive. So for the Legion, you have a missile variant and a laser variant. Fancy. I'm totally digging that, man. I'm digging the missile Legion. Lots of possibilities. Lots of possibilities. And the proportions are definitely very, very, very similar. All right. I think really that warp velocity is kind of an interesting option. The propulsion interdiction nullifier. I can't remember if that was already part of the old propulsion subsystems. Right. So we got very, very different weaponry options for the Legion. And on top of that, the stats giving it a little bit more So not a little bit more, but more resources to play with. Koldari, I think when it's not so much a nerf that the other. It's kind of like when we were doing the subcapital ship balance, and the Minmatar became, as far as PvP ships, they lost a lot of their power because everyone else was brought up. Not necessarily the Minmatar ship classes were brought down. Right. I definitely prefer buffing over nerfing. That's just me. It just feels like a nerf because it didn't get buffed. You know, it's that way of thinking. I definitely prefer buffing over nerfing. That's just me. It just feels like a nerf because it didn't get buffed. You know. So of course, shield for Tengu. Offensive's got the hybrid turrets and missiles. So we've already had that before. Proportions pretty much the same. All right, for the Proteus, armor, of course. It's got a drone synthesis, drone offensive subsystem. Really cool. It definitely did not have that in the last iteration, or not nearly as powerful as you'd think. You know, not as useful up front. So turrets plus drone, or medium hybrid turrets plus drones, either or. Good to go. Minimatar. And yep, so it's got. Could have sworn it was both armor and shield for Loki's. Hold on. Yep. So the Loki has, for the defensive subsystems, can be fitted. You know, it's got that Minotaur versatility, shields or armor. Fancy, super fancy. And missiles plus turrets. So an option of 2 non-cap using weapon systems. In a world full of void bombs, that's a really good option. And propulsion's the same. Alright, so that's a quick overview of the new hulls and their respective subsystems. It's, if you're a guy who's really in tune with large alliances and where they may be moving towards, I can't imagine people. I think people have no choice but to really consider Loki's right now. Is it good enough doctrinally? I don't know. I'm not sure. Sven says one thing is during CCP's question and answer live stream, CCP Rice said in chat that void bombs would be first on their nerf list. I'm really interested to see how they approach the nerf though. Like, my biggest problem with it is not so much that the void bombs exist, it's the delivery system being used. That's really my problem with it. It shouldn't be bombs. But I wouldn't expect that until winter expansion. Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with an effect to take away your cap. I'm totally cool with that. I just don't think it should be something. I don't agree with using bombs as a platform to do that. because it's man, it's obviously abusable, right? You can just like literally, it's shooting with a shotgun versus shooting with a shooting with a shotgun versus trying to be really surgical with something, or should it be, I don't know. Is that okay to have? I just don't. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the delivery systems. That's it. I'll stick with that. Or should it be? I don't know. Is that okay to have? I just don't. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the delivery systems. That's it. I'll stick with that. Yeah, that's it really. We'll go right into our picks of the week, guys. Not a whole lot really here. I wasn't seeing like the market's really slow. Not a whole lot of action, and whatever action there was, it Tech 3 cruisers kind of sucked up all that activity, So not a whole lot going on. But I do have a few things that like definitely like to tell you guys. For my buys, not really a buy, but definitely observe melted nano ribbons. So let's take a look at that. For my buys, not really a buy, but definitely observe melted nano ribbons. So let's take a look at that. I really think that once people figure out what they're going to commit doctrine resources to, there's going to be a spike in melted nano ribbons. Once people figure out what they're going to commit doctrine resources to, that doesn't mean there's going to be. Because right now, Tech 3 Cruise is the new hotness. If something's the new hotness, then people want to build it. And if CCP actually properly adjusted the spawn rates of these of the materials for Tech 3 building, yeah, then it's really gonna go up. But then at the same time, we have to be very careful when we start talking about when CCP tweaks the spawn rate of materials for builds. I think they have a hard time really dialing. They have a hard time presenting that in the like the Goldilocks zone right from the get go. It's either going to be like too weak or too strong. It's just the nature of it. Look at when they balanced, small ancillary armor BPC drops. They didn't balance it at all. It was too weak. It's way too weak of a balancing effort. But we'll see. I am hopeful that at least in the interim, I mean the next 3 months or so, at least until people really start getting comfortable figuring out what they're gonna commit to buying in bulk. There's gonna be a lot of action on Tech 3 related items, Tech 3 build related items. So I would have a watchful eye on all these things. I think it's worth observing melted nano ribbons for sure. I'm anticipating it to spike up, definitely, once people start figuring out, in tranquility, what these things can really do. All right, observe ancient relics. All right, so if you are familiar with how Tech 3s are made, ancient relics think of that as the materials you need. Well, these are the materials you need to do the reverse engineering, all right? So think of them as the blueprint copies if you're doing invention. Or like the base blueprint type. So they come in different flavors, right? You have intact, malfunctioning, and wrecked. So these, I forget what you call them, like prefixes, I guess, or something like that, sorry. The intacts give you a higher chance of success, then followed by malfunctioning, followed by wrecked, in that order, okay? So of course, intacts cost more, followed by malfunctioning, followed by wrecked. And the small is for Tech 3 destroyers. We're just gonna look at, we'll use the hull. So each one of these, they come in different flavors. You got armor, hull, power core, thruster, weapon. All right. So if you were to try to reverse engineer hull BPCs, you would use hull sections. If you wanted to do subsystems, it's the appropriate named one for those subsystems. Hopefully I didn't lose anyone on that. Let's focus on the hulls though. Let's focus on the hulls. Intact hull section. Big jump in price. Considering its low volume in the first place. So you guys might say, hey, these things don't really see a whole lot of action in the markets. Yeah, they don't. A lot of people, especially because it's so cheap to do research or invention or anything like that. All right. However, I should have to double check if you can actually do these in Citadel's reverse engineering. I'm not sure. Not sure if you can. But based on the low market availability of these things, you probably could. You probably could. There's probably more sales of the completed blueprint copies versus the hull sections, or versus the materials for reverse engineering. So big spike. Malfunctioning. Bigger spike. With a volume to back it up. Wrecked. Not so much. Not so much. Well, well, I shouldn't say not so much, but it's super flat, then boom, relative to the action previous to that. Yeah, it's huge. And from near nothing to over 1,000. It's nuts. It's huge. All right, so things to watch out for. How is this going to play out in the long term, prediction wise? I think right now in the current mania that we have right now, this is probably, it's got nowhere to go but down at this point. Because it's so easy to saturate this market. So easy. These things come from the exploration sites, so data sites, relic sites. That's where they come from. Or sorry, just data sites. That's where they come from. And even the super low end wormhole type data sites can yield these. It's all random at that point, so they're not super unique. All right, so I think this is a market type that can very easily be saturated. So I think what you're seeing right now in the current mania, in its current state of volatility, is probably the highest that it will be. It's got nowhere to go but down. Let's just be, unless the demand just absolutely supersedes that. Well, we can't really tell that right now. If you want to speculate on it, feel free. I'll probably speculate on other things besides these items, though, but still related to Tech 3. And LSE2. So I'm just using this as an example. Okay, so large shield extender 2s. But what I would recommend you guys do is do some PIFO work, right? Do some EFT work. So what do we know so far? Legions are going to be strong, Lokis are going to be strong. Think about what would be useful for those two items. Probably focus on Loki stuff, all right? Because shields, right from the get-go, actually, let's double check the defensive of the Legion. Pressure is still just armor. All right, still just armor for Legion. All right, that's fine. But so now you have the Tengu that can do shields, the Loki that can do both. All right. So 2 out of the 4 shields. Focus on shield stuff. Shield passive stuff. That's my recommendation. At least I think that's a safe bet for now. But of course, as a PvE thing, of course they would go active, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a sudden spike in, say, faction medium shield boosters. Let's take a look just for giggles. Just for giggles. Actually, mediums and smalls may be worth looking into. All right, that was a noticeable bump on the DG medium shield boosters. Not a whole lot. It's super outlier. Sven says a lot of the ED stuff is up anyway. Piff, Piff C. Yeah, yeah. So that's gonna look up next is because some of the medium, medium dead space, given the stats, I think they're quite cheap. Been climbing, been climbing. Look at that. That's sexy, man. Worth selling if you have some. And let's go back to our call, large shield extender 2. Before we go to the 2, let's take a look at some of the faction variants. Oftentimes, I think they're a better buy than the Tech 2s for this. Kaldar Navy Large. It was up for a good while there, and it trended down again. It's still a general upward trend. Public Fleet starting to pick up. Look at that volume. That volume right there is picking up. Does it have enough juice? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But the Tech 2 one's got a really funky graph representation. Really funky. These two big demand spikes right here. And it settled down super neat right here. Does it go back up? Hard to tell. It's probably not going to reach this level right here. Seeing as how evenly the this 20-day moving average mark is trending. It's literally going sideways. So it's hard to tell. I don't think it's going to reach the beyond 1.5 million mark. I don't think so. Probably closer to this. A little bit above 1.25, so probably 1.3. I think that's pretty reasonable. But I'll be honest, I mean, especially with how, now I'm going to tie this back to faction warfare. You guys probably are sick and tired of hearing me tie everything back to faction warfare. But Republic Fleet, anything, is super cheap right now. Super cheap. And you can sustainably farm them yourself, you know, because they're in tier 4 right now. Like, Amara is still at 0 systems taking back. As of yesterday, let me double check. Yep, Amara is still at 0. Garbage. Garbage. Highlighted, there you go. Amara is still at 0. It's fucking sad. It's gonna stay that way for a while. If they haven't picked it up now, there's just people aren't interested, man. People aren't interested in doing that faction warfare madness with citadels. Nope. Nope. So going back to the large shield extenders, guys. If I had the liquid, which I do, really I do, I might put speculative buy orders here. I'm a little freaked out about just the graph in general, but I think based on the price action in the last 7 days or so, it can go down. You can try to cash this lower on this end, but it's having a hard time really picking up in momentum, which is fine. Sven says Amar faction warfare in general, slow stack in general. Yeah, dude, no one's. It's like it's been over a month now, and no one in Amar has bothered to take even one system. Fuck. Well, you know, because the thing is, they don't need to, right? I got Citadels. They don't need to. They don't need to bother. All right, so those are our buys for the week, guys. Not a lot of these are super obvious, right? Super obvious. The only thing I would really kind of just a general idea is think about stuff that's going to be good for Legion, stuff that's going to be good for Loki. Is there going to be a lot of volatility in those items? Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be like big buyouts and big sellouts. But in the long term, just kind of keep that in mind, you know, especially with these ships. a lot of people get really hung up on what do I buy as opposed to what type of things should I be paying attention to. Two different ways of looking at it. All right, and cells, of course, Tech 3 cruisers. We already looked at that. So there, if you were buying them previously, you have a stock of them. If you were making them even, I would probably offload it now. You know, hopefully you offloaded it starting 2 days ago, because right now the price is already starting to wane almost immediately as soon as the patch hit, right? Today is basically day 2 of the downward trend of prices for the most part of those things. So do be careful. If you want to cash out on it, I think now's your chance. Otherwise, you may end up waiting or getting not nearly as much as selling it right now. So another thing I put in there, guys, is the P4. P4 is across the board is trending upwards. So definitely something to look into. And let me show that to you guys. Ramian. I'm not sure what's causing this, to be honest. Unless the low summer population is having an effect on the actual PI harvesters. That's just probably what it is. It's genuine lack of supply. Sven asks, what impact do you think higher P4s will have on other markets, if any? It's tough to tell. Does this have any impact on Citadel builders? Yeah, to a degree. However, my experience has revealed to me the last few weeks that the dedicated structure builders have a dedicated source of PI. That's not the market. Right? They work with other people, right? Citadels are still super low. Citadels are still super low, yeah, because it's too tough to fucking fight them. Or it's not that it's tough. It's too cumbersome to fight them. If given a chance, people would rather not bother. That's where we find ourselves in right now, I think. And a point in the game where instead of engaging content, it's like, no, I'm not doing that shit. I'm fucking playing other games because that's fucking bullshit. I'm not doing that fucking content, CCP. Fuck you. I'm doing something else. All right. So that's a powerful message. I'm really. It's kind of frustrating that it's taking them so long to make quality of life changes on them. It's a shame. It's a shame. This is supposed to be like a big thing, and it is. It's just that people can't be bothered. People cannot be bothered to. Like, Eve's just not that hardcore anymore. It's not. It's not. All right, fucking get over yourselves. This isn't 2009. For sake. People actually want to enjoy themselves and shit. And it's just, you know, it's as a genre in general, MMOs, it's got to be friendlier. It's got to be more approachable. Sorry. Sorry. So we got P4s. I think it's genuinely people not putting stuff up to market. I think that's really what it is. I think it's genuinely people not putting stuff up to market. I think that's really what it is. I mean, got some really oddball volume, but nothing that's crazy, you know. Slightly lower or trending lower more than anything. See, if you've been holding on to these, you might want to start selling these, because these are displaying, like, if not surpassing it, really close to 90-day highs. 4 days ago, same action. Is it preparation for refineries? Yeah, it's preparation for refineries. But coupled with not many people doing it, it's great. It's great. That means price is going to jack up even more. It's literally across the board. It wasn't like this 2 days ago. It was like all but 2, but now they're all trending this way. So I'm not sure if there's enough time, guys, to actually really take advantage of this. For some of these items, you may have missed the boat already. Sorry. But if anything, it may be a time to offload your stock. If anything else, this is a time to offload your stock, if unless you intend to build something with it. Self-harmonizing power cores a little bit. Actually, look at that, man. There's lots of outlier stuff. Store conduits, yeah. Super outlier again. But where? Same thing. Over 90-day highs. All right. I mean, that's really all I got as far as that, guys. Hope I was able to show you something. But one thing I do want to put out there as well, just plug again for our investment group. And also, I'm going to be working towards not just streaming or doing kind of like podcasty things for Eve, but also just start doing just general gaming streams. I don't know if you guys have tried it yet, but I've been playing Gwent the last week. Oh, hey, thanks, Ben. Yep. Try to present all the stuff. Gwent came out and is now in open beta. I tried it before when I actually had an opportunity to try it for closed beta, but it was too early. I didn't really enjoy it. Now, I haven't played Witcher or anything like that, so I genuinely didn't know how to play Gwent. But it's one of those things that it's kind of relatable to Eve again. So the open beta came out for Gwent, and the tutorial was way better. Way better. I'm hooked instantly. Off the tutorial. For a card game. Crazy. Crazy, man. So, yeah, I was thinking of streaming Gwent because of it's not a lot of people doing it. And I enjoy it. It's actually really cool. It's a card game that really makes you think. It's not, and it's the way the free-to-play aspect works. They're super generous. It's way more generous than Hearthstone. That's for damn sure. Way more generous. So I was thinking of streaming that, and I was also thinking of streaming like games like more turn-based stuff, so something that I can kind of talk over easily. Um, Maybe, but I definitely want to show too. I gotta figure out a way if I can do it effectively, especially with just maybe not having push to talk. Is streaming Master X Master. It's a new strange, man. It's not just a MOBA, but it's almost like a party pack of this action RPG game that has MOBA elements to it. It's pretty fun. But I definitely want to start working on building not just Eve videos. So hopefully something I can work on and share with you guys. But if anyone wants to, I have no problem streaming it myself. But if you guys know of like groups that kind of play similar games, I definitely would like to get hooked up with groups like that, so that maybe we can have more like organized like play sessions together. That'd be great. All right, but that's really all I got, guys. We'll definitely be revisiting the Tech 3 anticipated mania and accompanying modules for I think it's worthwhile to look at this at least next week one more time, like very similar to this. It's not very similar, but like a real quick overview to see if what's changed and to see if there's any opportunities in there. And I think that's really it. I definitely want to start talking about more of the now that I have more time to digest the contract work that I've been working on. I think it's definitely worthwhile to start talking about that too, especially if folks want to get into the contracts game. All right, where do you find contacts and stuff like that? But I think, honest to God, if you want to find contacts for buyback program, join our Discord. We have a lot of dudes in there, horde guys mostly, that can maybe help you out, or at least kind of nudge you to the right direction, right? Introduce you to people. Right. Some very social, market related stuff. Let's go hand in hand. It's great. All right, well, that's really all I got, guys. Kind of a short stream today, but it was very focused because we literally just looked at day one volatility for Tech 3 cruisers and other supporting accessories, right? Well, great. Well, that's really all I have, guys. Thanks for joining me. Really appreciate it. We'll do it again next week, and hopefully soon-ish, I'll be able to present not just Eve content, but other general gaming content to you guys. Definitely kind of doing the whole Twitch and YouTube simultaneous thing. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Sven, really appreciate your comments and sticking to our stream here. Appreciate it, man. And do check out Jeronica's website, Eve Mogul, to see to check out his new tools that he has. He said it'll be ready by this weekend. So soon it'll be ready, like super ready. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Soon it'll be ready, like super ready. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.